this live as I start every live, trying to figure out how to post on Instagram. One of these days, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to have it all good to go before we start this live. But in any event, welcome. Welcome. Very happy that you guys are here. Very happy that I'm back. See if my hair, got myself a nice little sponge. See, going live right now. Going live at 2 p.m. There we go. On my story. Hope you guys are doing good. Shout out to my man Be Humble. He said this is his other channel he bike rides on, Woes Cycles. So make sure you check him out. I mentioned that on my other live about let me get my little sponge together. I mentioned that on my other live about following Be Humble's channel, where he tells military stories. Also, shout out to my man Kit and the Misfit Toys as well. He has a channel, Toys and Novelties. You guys make sure you check that out as well. If you guys want to put your link in there, then we can post that. Shout out to Supervillain. What is going on to you, sir? Now, I intended to start the live as I intended to start Tuesday's live. I intended to start Tuesday's live showing the videos that got me through my week. But I think I want to start this live a little bit different. I have a couple things that I wanted to share with you. I have a music bed that somebody had made for me, and I need to figure out how do I play it. It's a problem, right? I need to figure out how do I play my music bed. Apparently I need to put it to video. Oh wait, there is an intro there. Yeah, okay, all right, here we go. That's right, my editor put together an intro. Here you go.
Turn me up a little bit, or just a little bit more. I got a message that I want to send across the world. Listen, baby.
Oh, I love it.
Turn me up a little bit, or just a little bit more. I got a message that I want to send across the world. Listen, baby.
Oh, I love it. I need to go on my email and give credit where credit is due for making that. You also might notice that my avatar for this account is a little bit different now, and that is thanks to my man Kit and the Misfit Toys, who sent me these masterpieces. First of all, this is dope. This is dope. I absolutely love this. Hold on. There we go. Yo, that's fire. That's fire right there. Hold on, me. No. All right. I guess that's as big as I can make it. That's dope. Shout out to my man Kit for doing that, because that is fire. That's my favorite one. He sent a few. That's my favorite one that he sent. That is not the one that I'm using right now because I couldn't get it in a circle. Like you put it in a circle and it cuts off the edge of the waters. So that's not the one that I'm using right now. But he also sent me this one right here. And this is the one I'm currently using. That's fire. Perfect. In a circle, you got to love it. You got to love it. You got to love it. So that is my current avatar for this particular channel. And he sent me a couple other ones too. I think I'll use them as like thumbnails and stuff for videos when I do my mind festions. But shout out to you, Kit, man. I very much appreciate you. And I'm gonna send you a message when we're all through with this. But I much appreciate all you guys. Okay, I wanted to start with videos, but You know, let me just start here because I mentioned on Tuesday, because in preparation for this live, I was thinking about what exactly I wanted to say. Because on Tuesday, I said that it was the 7th anniversary of my dad's passing, and I'm trying to think about what exactly I wanted to say. My dad was very, and another thing to keep in mind too, because you may get confused, because I mentioned my dad like actively. So I grew up with two fathers. My mother remarried when I was really young, and my stepfather, for all intents and purposes, is the father who raised me. But my father stayed in my life, so I basically grew up with three parents. You could think of it that way. Two I live with, and my father. And I was very blessed, very blessed. People assume, given the situation, that it was all sorts of drama, and assume that I'm scarred in some particular way. I'm only scarred in the ways that I forcibly made myself be scarred, because I was a fan of grunge in the 90s and very much a rebel without a cause. So I'm scarred because it was cool to be scarred, but I can't blame any of my parents for that. So if you get confused by me talking about my dad, even though I'm saying he passed in 2017, but I saw him last night, that is why. So I was thinking about what exactly I want to say about him, because he was very understated. He kept, like, his emotions were hard to get to, and I think I definitely inherited that from him. And that is very much a blessing and a curse. It means that um it's, I mean, if you think of a piece of technology, right, that can take a lot of abuse. And the thing, it's good because it means that you have some stability, right? It means that it's sturdy, and it's very difficult to knock down. But it also means that you don't get a good indicator of exactly where it's at, right? Because it could be on the verge of falling apart and falling down, and you wouldn't know because you just think it can take anything. So as it relates to my emotional state, one of the difficulties that I've had in really trying to check in with myself is this fact that my emotions can be buried very deep, as his always were. And I look at it like 7 years out, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever lost a parent, somebody like very, very close to you, like a sibling, hopefully not a child or something like that. But 7 years, like I still feel like it hasn't hit me in 7 years. Like I still feel like it hasn't hit me. One of the reasons for that is, like, my dad wasn't big on the phone. He was always like, I don't want to bother you, so I'm around if you want to talk. But and if you did reach out, he would talk for hours, but he would never like reach out. He was like that guy's guy. I'm like, I'm not on the phone. So I would talk to my dad like whenever I was on a road trip, like a long trip. I would call him, and which happened often because I was on the road doing stand up. So I think because I would see him periodically, in some ways, him passing just feels like a long, like this has just been a long stretch of not talking to him. You know what I mean? Um, and I guess in that way, it's made it somewhat easier to work through this particular period of time. But again, like I said, with that period, that like with that piece of technology where the emotions are buried, obviously there's a lot. Obviously, it has impacted me, but I've had difficulty accessing how it's impacted me, like, emotionally. Now, it's impacted me in um, some other ways. Like I mentioned before on this channel about how I suffer from claustrophobia, and that wasn't a new thing in 2017, but it hadn't affected me in a very long time before 2017. I lived in New York, and I would get on the train, go underground. Like I really had no issues with that. All of a sudden in 2017, it became a problem. And I thought that it was obviously connected to my dad, because the timing of it was like immediately after that. So obviously it was connected to him. But it wasn't until recently that I remembered that the last time I saw my dad before he passed, um, he was in the hospital. He died of stomach cancer, and he was in the hospital. And my family reached out for me to head down, and I had just come off the road for doing some sort of trip thing I was doing with ESPN. So I was just coming off the road, and I basically was gonna like go home, switch out my bag, and get back on the plane. And my dad called me from the hospital, and I explained to him, what was going on. Like, I'm headed that way. And he said, no, don't worry about it. Just come tomorrow. Like, it's fine. Just come tomorrow. And I was actually relieved. I wouldn't have suggested that, but I was actually relieved because I was exhausted, and I didn't feel like I was like emotionally ready to get on a plane and go down there. So I said, this gives me a 12 hours, 18 hours to sleep and get all my ducks in a row so I can leave. So the next day, I woke up to a bunch of calls and messages from my family, my mother, most notably, to tell me that he had a stroke overnight, and they didn't know how much time he had, and to come as soon as I possibly could. Well, fortunately, I was already booked to get on a plane that morning. So, it was best case scenario as far as me getting there as soon as I possibly could. I just went and jumped on a plane and went down there. But I had like so much guilt about that I didn't go the day before. So I didn't know exactly what kind of condition he might be in when I got there. And I just remember I think I was smoking at the time. I remember being outside of JFK on the phone with my mother, just trying to calm myself down, like chain smoking, trying to calm myself down to get on this plane. And I got on the plane, and the plane pulls away from the runway, and then it goes back to the gate. We get an announcement that we have some sort, I don't remember what the issue was with that plane, but they were having some sort of issue with the plane, and we were grounded indefinitely. And I had actually managed to calm myself down in that moment. I just told myself that, like, you can't get there any quicker. Because like when you hear stuff like that, you just want to fix it, right? You just want to throw a bunch of energy at it and fix it. But I'm trying to tell myself the fastest way you can get down there to see him is to get on this plane. So just do that, right? I convinced myself of that, so I was calm. And the pilot announced that the plane was grounded indefinitely. And in that moment, I just had a surge of anxiety, because I had the very real thought that this plane maintenance or whatever's going on, whatever, somebody didn't get this measured right, or the fuel, whatever it is that's going on with this plane, might be the thing that stops me from seeing my dad again alive. That was true. In the moment, that was true. And then of course the guilt that accompanies why didn't I leave yesterday? There's nothing I can do about it now. There's nothing I can do about any of it. Right? Like I'm totally powerless about what's going on with the plane, and I'm totally powerless about not leaving yesterday. Right? I'm just stuck here with this brain going haywire. I don't remember how long we were grounded. It was probably like 30 minutes or so. It's a rough 30 minutes. Because I also knew, I also knew that if I flip out right now, it's going to make the situation worse. Like, you are trying to get to North Carolina as soon as humanly possible. Any behavior you exhibit is going to make it longer. Whether or not it delays the plane, whether or not they pull you off the plane, whether or not you get arrested, whatever the case may be, if you do something, it's going to make it worse. So you just have to, you know what I mean? You just got to force it down. And from what I know now about dealing with those kinds of feelings and emotions, that was the worst way to treat myself. But it was the only way I knew to treat myself at that time. That was the only thing I knew, was just, you need to forcibly shut it down, right? Plane took off, landed, got off the plane, made a beeline to the hospital, went and saw my dad. And I was very fortunate that I was able to see my dad alive again. However, he was not in a state where I could confidently say that he recognized me. He was unable to communicate. And, you know, I could tell myself whatever story I want to tell myself. He didn't say my name. He didn't remember anything that happened. Like, I can't say confidently that he recognized me, right? So I saw my dad alive, but like, if you could split the difference between seeing him alive and not seeing him alive, that's what I did. Like, I saw him alive, but I couldn't, you know, I told him what I felt like I would have told him. Hopefully he heard that. But what spawned from that moment, and I had forgotten, okay, what happened to me on the plane. I totally forgot. What I know is that in the ensuing days and weeks, all of a sudden I couldn't be on a plane, and I was flying a lot for work. I was flying a lot, and I was living in New York. I was on trains a lot, right, going underground. All of a sudden, I could not be in a cage. Like, I could not do it. Went to therapy to try and deal with it. And, you know, it's 7 years later. It's definitely gotten significantly better, but I will be lying if I said that getting on the plane with my family a week ago wasn't a concern. It was a concern. I had trouble sleeping the day before, not because I was getting on the plane. I think I just had this thing about a bunch of, I think I just had a lot on my brain and whatnot, but I knew that I do better when I get sleep. I do much better when I get sleep. And that was one of the real issues at that time, was I wasn't sleeping, and that was exacerbating the anxiety. And so I remember I was laying in bed the night before we went on the vacation, and my thoughts were racing, and I'm just trying to forcibly shut it down, because I know that the less sleep you get, the less armor you have against having some sort of issue when you're on this plane. I think the saving grace was my daughter. I think was my saving grace. And I think the reason why is because last year, with 2023 was a real bad year for that. It's a real bad year for my anxiety and claustrophobia and whatnot. And it was one of the reasons why I went to the retreat that I went to. And one of the reasons why I decided I wanted to have these kinds of conversations, because I wanted to stay grounded in these kinds of concepts, because I need it. 2023 was rough. I had planned a trip to Egypt, and that was going to require me I was by myself. It was like a solo trip. It was like my Dave Chappelle trip. This is like my low level. It was like my low level Dave Chappelle trip, right? I'm going to Africa to clear my mind. I decided to go to Egypt to clear my mind. It was by myself, and there was a lot of reasonable anxiety about that trip. There's a lot of reasons to really be nervous about that trip. I don't want to go too far. At some point, I could do a whole live just about that trip, but that trip required a whole lot of trust, a whole lot of peace, and a whole lot of serenity that I did not have. And the only thing that I kept praying for, even when I was on the trip, the only thing I kept praying for was I just wanted to see my daughter again. Like, I just wanted to get back and see my daughter again. And she was just the person that I kept in my mind, right? And so I think when I was on this plane going on vacation, the fact that she's right here, whatever happens, she's right here, I think, kind of calmed me, right? I had no issues. On the plane. In fact, one of those flights was actually delayed. Like, it was like the thing that my claustrophobia is weird. It's like I'm fine when the thing is moving. I have problems when it stopped. Because I know that when you're on a plane and when you're on a train and it's moving, you got a schedule. When you're on a plane or a train and it's stopped, you got no schedule. You could be stopped here for 60 seconds. You could be stopped here for 60 minutes. You could be stopped here for half a day. You don't know. You don't know, and there's nothing you can do. That's the part that trips me out and drives me up a wall. So in any event, clearly my dad's passing impacted me substantially, right? By virtue of how I was unable to conduct myself and my life change after that. But I think one of the other reasons why it hasn't hit me yet, I think I have a little bit of I have guilt about not being more present during his last 6 months, right? It happened pretty quickly. My dad passed in April, and I think I was told that he was diagnosed maybe November, something like that. And by April, he was gone. I remember seeing him around Christmas time, because I had taken a trip down there around Christmas time, and he didn't look well, but I didn't want to offend him, so I didn't say anything. But I thought something was wrong. I have a lot of guilt about not being more present during that last 6 months that he was alive. So I think it becoming real is me having to grapple with that, and me not really wanting to grapple with that. Then I have to ask myself, is there an amount you could have been there where you would say that was enough? And the answer is probably no. That's an important thing to keep in mind. I'd say the other real regret that I have about my dad, and I think I've mentioned this on this channel before, but my dad, well, both my both my dads actually are real big sports fans, right? Very big into sports, got me really very big into sports. And I was, as you can see, the jerseys in the background, like I've always been big into sports. And my mother's big into sports. I remember when the Redskins, which is what they were called at the time, when the Redskins lost on Sunday, it was going to be a rough day. It was going to be a rough evening. Okay, it was going to be a rough evening. Like if the Redskins looked bad at 1, you didn't want to see my mother until like 6, 7 o'clock, where she had time to calm down. So I come from a big sports family. Well, there was a real need that I had to impress my parents, and especially my dad's, by being an athlete. I really wanted to be an athlete. Also, my dad, which was confirmed bachelor, so he belonged to the streets. Okay, if anybody belonged to the streets, Future, Bob Marley, and my dad belonged to the streets. He belonged to the streets. Okay. And in typical toxic 80s fashion, that was the thing that was looked up to. That was the thing that you wanted to aspire to. And so I kind of wanted to be that guy, just because I thought it would make him proud. Like I thought it would make him feel better about me. Thought it would make me feel fulfilled knowing that he felt that way about me. I couldn't do either of those things. I mean, if God was blessing us with attributes, I think the last two for me was athleticism and ladies man. And he was just all out. Like he went here. He was all out. He was all out. I was a straight up nerd. And I always say, kids used to call me Steve Urkel and I would get mad. But when I look at pictures of myself as a kid, they had a point. Like I was definitely Steve Urkel. But I mention that to say, he never actually articulated that he wanted these things. This is just what I internalized. But because I internalized it, right, I felt like I was a disappointment. For most of his life, I felt like I was a disappointment. Now, if you wanted to make a case, all right, if you wanted to make an argument that he was extremely proud of you, there's a lot of evidence. I mean, he said it. He said it, he talked to his friends and bragged about his friends. He used to record every appearance I ever did on television on his DVR. And then when his DVR got full, he would put VHS tapes, and he had VHS tapes of every time that I was on TV. And then when his friends would come over, he would show them to them, and it was later in his life that I started to not feel like a disappointment. But what that means to me, well, first of all, I have to feel some gratitude about the fact that I reached that point while he was alive. That's significant. But I lament how much time we didn't get to share, with me feeling like a whole human being, essentially, right? With me feeling empowered and validated as his son. It was not a lot of time that we spent like that. Maybe like a year, maybe like the last year, couple years, maybe. Before that, I always felt some kind of disappointment, some kind of judgment, which means I couldn't relate to him in the best way, because I didn't feel like I was free to be myself, right? And I didn't feel like I was free to express certain things, and it was all me. Right? It was all me in my head. Hell, I wish I just would have said that. Right? It would have been better if I just would have said what I'm saying now, but I didn't. I never said that because, yeah, shame, guilt, whatever, embarrassment, whatever the case may be. I never expressed that, but because I never expressed that, and because I never got over that until the last couple of years, I regret like how much of that time was lost, and that's on me. That's 100%. That's 100% on me. So what I take from that, being a father now, is wanting to make sure that, I guess, so what I was going to say was, I think what I can take from that, being a father now, is wanting to make sure that my kids don't repeat my pattern of internalizing this judgment and guilt, right? But as I said, I don't know that he did anything to make me feel away. You know what I mean? This is all just what I thought. So if that's the case, then maybe I can't do anything. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously I can do the best I can. Like I can do the best I know how to make them feel like I'm proud of them, and make them feel like they're free to be whoever they want to be. But I don't know that would have made a difference. My I think my parents did the same, and I felt the way that I felt. So, in any event, I am extremely happy that I reached that point at the end of his life where I felt seen. And now I feel like I've gone past that point to actually trying to rectify some of the mistakes I made when he was alive. And by saying that, you realize, I don't know if this is specific to me or not, because I've never had this conversation before, but I'm just putting this out there. I have this, I've created a scenario, right, in my mind where it's like me and my parents. I say, how do I explain this? Let me just, so my father never knew his father, right? They didn't have a relationship. And he had a real complex about that. That was something that really defined who he was. And in fact, apparently, because I would have been an infant, but apparently that heavily informed his approach to fatherhood, that he wanted to be the person that his father wasn't, and he wanted to do something different. And so that's why he made sure that he was there for me. And so I was determined, once I became aware of that, which was very young, I was probably like 6, 7, 8 when I heard that story for the first time. Once I became aware of that, I was bound and determined to be successful, to validate his decision. But also, a lot of it was to shame his father, my grandfather. Look at what you missed out on because you refused to step up and be a father to my dad. I'm going to show you what you missed out on. That was a real motivation for me. It's probably still a motivation for me, to be honest. In fact, I found out when I was in high school that my grandfather actually lived in Washington, D.C. And apparently, actually, it's 4 people belong to the street. So Bob Marley, Future, my father, and my grandfather all belong to the streets. My grandfather belonged to the streets. He was just less careful, right? So my dad belonged to the streets, and he just kind of did his own thing. My grandfather belonged to the streets, and he just left a family forest. So there are branches of that family forest in DC, right? He was living in DC, and I was asked if I wanted to meet him. Just thinking about like being, I think I was like 14, 13, 14, something like that, being asked if you would like to meet your grandfather. And at that point, I was squarely in my self-righteousness about his relationship with my dad. So I said, I got to talk to my dad about it. You know what I mean? I got to talk to my dad about it because he's the one that's been there for me. I'm not going to disrespect him to meet this dude. You know, let me talk to him. Let me make sure that it's okay with him. You know, when I talked to him about it, you know, when I brought it up, I never did. I felt like I punked out. I wanted to have the conversation, even not so much as to get his blessing, because I wasn't even sure I wanted to meet him. I was just curious how he would react, but I didn't want to I just never wanted to upset him. The possibility that he might be upset that I wanted to meet this dude, I was like, it's not worth it. So I never met my grandfather, who lived in the same city that I lived in. And I believe he passed after my dad. I'm not positive on that. I believe he passed after my dad. So my dad passed without me having this conversation with him about meeting my grandfather. And then even after he passed, at that point, it never even occurred to me, actually. I have forgotten about it. It never even occurred to me. Then he passed, and I was like, oh, snap. Like, I missed that opportunity. It's crazy to think that I lived in the same city as my grandfather for like a decade, and I knew about it. Or I didn't live here, but like, you know, my family was here. I knew where he was, well, so this is the thing. Because my grandfather left a family forest, that means that I have family here in my city, and I have no idea who they are. And not even distant, like not even that distant. Like, this is like my grandfather. So, you know, I don't know what that would make these people second cousins. I don't know. But I have family in DC. I have no idea who they are. Right? His branch of the family tree has reunions in DC sometimes. I found out. They have reunions in DC. It's enough of them here. They have reunions in DC. I ain't know anything about it. Right? Because I was on television here in DC, I'm like, you know, I have people like, it's just, so I say that to say, now that my kids are growing up here, and, you know, we don't have a lot of family here. You know, my mother's family's in South Carolina. My wife's my mother's family. My family's in South Carolina and North Carolina. My wife's family's in Ohio. We don't have a lot of family here, except you do. You do have a lot of family, you just don't know them. So me wanting my kids to have as many possible support beams as possible, as many possible people to look up to, ask for advice, to reach out to, whatever the case, whatever family means to you. Me wanting my kids to have as many of those, as strong a foundation of that as possible. And also, quite frankly, not wanting them to end up with a cousin. You know what I mean? They're young now, but I'm just saying, you got to get out ahead of this stuff. I think my kids have motivated me to, to actually pursue that. To actually, get involved in pulling back that sheet and discovering who they are, and doing that also who I am too, which is some scary stuff, to be 40 plus and learning this kind of stuff. But I guess that's what your kids will do, and I also think it's gonna, I also think it will be very strange to them with the relationships that they have with my wife's father, and the relationships they have with my father here. They will never understand me not opting to meet my grandfather. They will never understand that, I don't think. But I guess the good thing about it too, they will never understand a father stepping away either. I can take some pride in that. And my dad can take some pride in that, because who knows what my feelings would be about fatherhood if his feelings about fatherhood were different. And that goes to my stepdad too. Who knows how I'll feel about fatherhood if his feelings about fatherhood were different. So on that note, let me go to you guys' comments. Noel said it won't hit you until your son is older and y'all have the same conversation that you recall having with your dad, but it will hit you in a good way. Said he has his heart holding you against the loss you could have felt. I like that. This is Be Humble said that happened to my dad. What was it? The stroke. My old man, when he had a stroke, was love. Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. Did you get a chance to talk to him after the fact, Be Humbles? You let me know. Kid said, I was raised with my grandmother. She was a Holocaust survivor. Wow. My hero. My date to Infinity War and Endgame. I made her my date to Infinity War and Endgame. I made her autograph the ticket stub. She passed last year. I feel her with me every day. That's a great story. So, Kit, since you're saying you feel her with you every day, has the loss not, like, I don't know, man. Like, I just, now that I think about it, because I was gonna say, like, I never felt like the big rush of loss and weight. That's not true. I felt it at different moments in time. I think I felt it. My grandmother, his mother, passed a few years ago, also in April. And they're together in the cemetery. And on the way to the burial, I saw my dad's tombstone, and I had not seen it. I don't think I'd ever seen it, actually, because I don't think it was there yet when I went for the funeral. and I saw my dad's tombstone and just lost it. And then when they closed the casket at the funeral, I lost it. Those were two moments where I did feel that. But um, kid said, I keep her near me. I guess I have her deck of cards at my desk and the Bart Simpson toy I gave her as a gift. Oh, that's nice. Well, I do have a photo. That is that's that photo there by the lamp, which actually, and now I think about it, that's in every video. Almost. I think it gets cut out sometimes, but that's in every video. So that is my dad in that photo right there. Is that my cousin Jackie? Oh, it's my cousin A Reese. Yes, they're probably cousins all around. Yeah. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. All right, what else do I want to get to here? So my daughter, it's kind of ironic because my daughter, she'll be 3 in August. She's in the look at me phase. Daddy, look at me, daddy, look at me, daddy, look at me. It's not just daddy, it's anybody. Whoever she's in the room with, look at me. And I think it's kind of funny and ironic that she's in this. I know there's a normal phase to be in, but like she's in this phase at this time, right, where I'm going to this anniversary. And so I'm trying to make a point to that I am looking and I'm proud, like making a point to communicate to her that I'm proud, like as much as I can. It's just a really funny phase of life, the daddy look at me phase. I think I probably wanted to say that a lot as an older person, but I never, you don't say that at 8, 9, and 10 or 12 or 17, 25. You don't say that, but I think I wanted to say that, it's really innocent. I swear, I was just talking to somebody the other day talking about like kids and like how fast things go and like the innocence of kids, but like this just his daddy look at me and she's just lifting up her leg and just wants me to feel proud of her. And I guess that never changes, right? I guess that never changes at the end of the day. I feel like this is I feel like my greatest motivations have been about my parents, and it actually involves all three of them. My single greatest motivation in life is to please my mother. Story for another time. But that whole like daddy look at me thing, I guess we're always there, right? Daddy and mommy look at me. I guess we're always there, in some respect. I really wanted to please my grandfather too, my mother's father. And he passed in the 90s. So I would have loved for him to have seen that I was, that I did some good things. That would make me feel the most fulfilled for him to know that. I'm very fortunate that my 3 parents got to see at least all the different iterations up through 2017, which I'll take. I'll totally take that. I think I have a lot more ahead of me, but I'll totally take that through 2017. But I was not there yet in the 90s. I was not there yet in the 90s. I was still hiding in the bushes trying to trying to score a fake ID. You know, I was doing 90s teen things. So I would love for my grandmother got to see it though. Both of them. Both my grandmothers got to see it. So I guess I got to take that. That's a pretty good deal, I think. That's a pretty good deal. All three of my parents and both my grandmothers got to see me as like a fully functional, informed adult. That's a pretty good deal. And it's probably better than most get, so I'll take it. Auntie Melanie, there's nothing like putting my mom's favorite chocolate chip cookies in the grocery cart for her and then realizing she passed 8 years ago. My grief still comes in waves for both my parents. Wow. That's deep. I could see that. I could see doing something like that, even though it's been 8 years, because of where I am with it after 7, you know. Yeah, I could see that. I have a lot of respect and admiration for anybody that's made it through the loss of a parent and certainly a child, but that's not what we're discussing right now. That's a whole nother thing, but it's just a whole lot, you know, and I would like to think that because I'm in no way prepared for what may come, maybe that can be my motivation to keep doing the work to get into a better place. I don't think I was ready in 2017. I clearly was not ready in 2017, but I did make it through that. You know, I did make it through that. So I can at least feel good about that. All right. In any event, I hope that wasn't I hope that wasn't too much of a downer. Here, I got one for you. Here. This is a total left turn. Actually, this is my Jerry. This is my twisty tie. This is my twisty tie because I want to get to this because it's gonna be old. It's already old, but I really want to talk about it. So I'm a big hip hop fan. I'm also a big rock fan. I like music, but I'm a big hip hop fan. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the beef that's currently brewing between Drake and Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, and Kendrick Lamar dropped a diss track, and the first to respond was J. Cole. J. Cole dropped a diss track, and then Drake dropped a diss track. However, J. Cole in concert had this to say after the diss track that he dropped on Kendrick Lamar.
Moving incorrectly. And I pray that God align me back up on my purpose and on my path. You know what I mean? I pray that my nigga really didn't feel no way. And if he did, my nigga, I got my chin out. Take your best shot. I'm going to take that shit on the chin, boy. Do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, all good. Like, it's love. And I pray that, I pray that y'all are like, forgive a nigga for like the misstep, and then I can get back to my true path. Cause I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Past 2 days felt terrible. Like, it let me know how good I've been sleeping for the past 10 years. So all of that to say, man, I want to now perform the song that's a reminder to me of getting back on the right path and getting in tune with God. And the name of the song is called Love Yours. I got for y'all right
now. Okay, so for those of you that didn't understand what you were listening to, so this guy dropped a diss track on Kendrick Lamar in response to the diss track that Kendrick Lamar dropped, and then 2 days later goes in concert and apologizes to Kendrick Lamar and expresses that he needs to do work to get back on his path. In response to that, most people that I saw, most people online, were destroying him and calling him, various anatomy parts for kowtowing to Kendrick Lamar and not doing the manly thing, which was to go back at him, because that's what you do in rap beefs. Now, as a hip hop fan, I was disappointed because I wanted to hear exactly what he has in store. J. Cole is an incredible rapper. And by the way, my sandwich twisty tie is that J. Cole represents North Carolina, which is where my dad's family is from. So there you go. I as a rap fan, like, I really wanted to hear what he had for him. Like, I really want to hear how these dudes compete. As a person that's on their own spiritual journey and acknowledging that I'm on this spiritual journey, I was so taken aback by that, because do you know how hard that is? Think about it. Kendrick Lamar attacked him publicly, right? Using in his world, music. He didn't write a post on social media, right? He went at him publicly in music. This is your world. This is the thing this is where you make your money. This is where your ego is born from, right? J. Cole responded. And then, based on how that response made him feel, decided that he needed to apologize because that took him off of his own spiritual path. Do you know how damn powerful that is? And he got crushed. People killing him for doing that. All of the energy and all of the momentum was for him to play into this beef, because that's what we do, and that's what the fans wanted to hear, right? Hip hop me wanted to hear that too. He made the independent decision that I'm not going to continue to do anything that takes me off of my path. This is where my power is. This is where my purpose is, and I need to continue to move in this direction, regardless of all this noise that's going on around me. Do you know how powerful that is? And of course, he gets crushed for it. He gets crushed for it, which is instrumental. Well, not instrumental, instructive. That is instructive. That is the reaction when you decide to do the thing that's best for you spiritually. You decide to do the thing that keeps you in line with your God. You get crushed for it because it's not the thing that society wants to see for their own entertainment. Pay attention. Pay attention. Because I think about how many times in my life, and it's never anything as big as this. I've never done anything as big as that, right? I haven't risen to their level in culture, but I'm just saying, in my life, how many times have I just done the thing that I felt like I was supposed to do, or just done the thing that I felt like would make people happy, or just done the thing because I felt like that would get the attention, and not done and opted not to do the thing that I knew would please my soul? I mostly have done this thing. And I think a lot of us, sometimes it's not even conscious for us a lot of times, right? It's not even conscious for us. But I mostly have done this thing. And get this, he did it too. But he knew how it felt to be off the path, and that was too painful for him to live outside of his path and his purpose. Do you know how fucking, that's so dope. That is so dope. To say all your adulation and all your fanfare is not worth 2 days of me living outside of my purpose. That was so dope when I saw that. And the fact that people reacted to it, I was angered that people reacted to it the way that they did and didn't take from it what I took from it. But that's probably the way it should go. Right? That's probably the way it should go. If everybody applauded and supported you living in your purpose, right? If everybody was directing you down your path of spirituality, sorry about that. Hold on. Let me try and get my other camera back up. There we go. Sorry about that. Yolanda, it would be more embarrassing for me to tell you what happened than not to, but I probably should. So what happened was I banged my tea too hard on the table, and that dislodged the connection. Because that's my that is the level of my technology. You guys have already heard me rant about my technology before, so there you go. Anyway, I just had to share that before it gets too old, and I know it's already old. Angry black man, be humble, say angry black, shut him down, shut him down. I just wanted to share that before it got too old because that was just, I applaud J. Cole. It really is meaningful to me to know, think about it. Just think about it. Like, I feel like I hate that we don't think deconstructed. Think about it. So the thing that we detest most is feeling like music and art, movies, TV shows are disposable, right? It's press and repeat. What's the thing they yell at people? They call you an industry plant. You're just here to generate money for these corporations, et cetera, right? If J. Cole went so far as to apologize because he felt like this response took him off his spiritual path, what does that tell you about where his music comes from? What does that tell you about the authenticity involved in the projects that he's associated with? Is that not the thing that we claim to want and claim to hold up in this society? But yet this is the reaction to him when he expresses that. It's also important to keep in mind that everybody isn't going to be supportive of that. And in fact, in a lot of cases, they won't. They will actually excoriate you for it, for doing the thing that puts you back on your path and puts you back on your purpose. But you know, the peace and the power that is associated with walking that path. You know that. They don't. They don't know it because they're not on your path, and they don't know it because they're not on their path. Because if they were, then him saying, I couldn't sleep for 2 days, and it tells me about how good I've been sleeping for the last X number of years, that would have touched something in them. If they were walking their paths and knew what that felt like. Keep in mind, man. Keep that in mind. Anyway, let me go to your comments before I head out. Supervillain, I'm sure it felt better talking about your grief. It did. I do feel better now. I do feel better. And I'm hoping that he heard what I had to say. Where are you guys with are you subscribers to the thought that this is just kind of silly, but are you subscribers to the thought that our ancestors can see and hear everything that we're doing? I think about that sometimes because I want them there sometimes. I definitely don't want them there sometimes. I want them there sometimes. Like, I would have loved for my dad to have heard this, but I don't know that I definitely want him here all night. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Do I get to pick and choose? Probably not. I don't know. Music industry is handling those clowns as the execs are ringmasters. Well, not if you don't play their game. J. Cole wasn't playing their game. Ages of 5 through 9, my sister's godfather took up a lot of time with me, took me everywhere he went, and I loved it. I considered him my godfather. He was in the Air Force and had to move to Germany in '84. That's dope. That's really dope. J. Cole woke up and apologized because he realized he was part of the circle. Yep. He came back but had some sort of disagreement with my mother, and he never came back to visit us. I tracked him down in Illinois and called him in '92 saying he would visit. Wow. Were you ever, and he says, lost contact with him and found out in 2010 he died at home in Texas. It really upset me that he didn't get to see me as a grown man. I can see that. I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm sorry to hear that. But, even though I was kind of being silly about do the ancestors see you, I'm sure he has seen you as a grown man, and I'm sure it's not lost on him that you made the attempts that you made to reach out. J. Cole showed a level of maturity that most can't understand, and never will. Totally agree, Noel. Then the camera went down. It's a grown man move on J. Cole's part. It was a grown man move. Oh, I think he said, hope not to do the ancestors get to see. I hope not. I know, I want them to see some stuff, but not everything. Do I get notice? do I get notice? All right. This has been fun. And relieving. So I appreciate you guys for being with me through it. We'll be back on Tuesday as far as the other channel is concerned. So I got a video dropping today. You guys know that, or if you don't know, your boy Trump is, or his attorneys are making arguments before the Supreme Court. So I thought this would be an appropriate time to address Mr. Thomas. So I will be doing my piece on Clarence Thomas. Very proud of it, especially proud of the thumbnail. I think you'll enjoy it. I got a piece on Clarence Thomas dropping today. I got a piece on Columbia University, where I'm an alum. I got a piece on Columbia University and the protests dropping either Friday or Saturday. And the day that's not dropping, I have a racist of the week. I have two of them, actually. I have one that's about the girl, the woman teaching her baby to say the N-word. And I have another about racism in the NBA playoffs. Because racism never takes a season off. It never takes a season off. I got one on racism in the NBA playoffs. I have a Moscow Marjorie piece that I'm about to shoot right now, as soon as we're done. And I got one on Laura Trump, because Laura Trump decided that she wanted to jump up because she's feeling froggy. So she'll need to be dealt with as well. So yeah, so a lot on the horizon on the other channel. I don't know if this is an extension of me going on vacation, that I created this backlog of videos because I was never intending to put out a video every day. Although I see a lot of channels do it. I don't really have the bandwidth to put out a video every day. However, I am in the process of seeking and getting help to help facilitate that. So hopefully I'll be able to, create a balance and we can make this a regular thing. So I appreciate all you guys for rocking with me. Shout out to you, Carol. Say good to hear your voice again. Absolutely, Carol. It's good to be heard again. Kid said I was listening to that hearing this morning. It's surprising, actually, sharp questions to both sides. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I like to hear that. All right. I'll be back Tuesday live on the other channel. And I appreciate you guys. Make sure you like the live and share it if you have the ability. And, this channel is still in its, nascent stage and still growing. So I appreciate you guys supporting it. And if you have the opportunity to spread the word, that would be much appreciated. So much love. And I'll see you guys on Tuesday.